Hi everyone, it's Laith from AccessReal.com and I'm here at Supanova in Perth and we're talking to Ian McElhinney. Ian, thanks very much for joining us.
Pleasure.
How's Sydney and Perth going for you this year?
Well, I've enjoyed it. I mean, ordinarily, to be honest, somebody like me living where I do, I wouldn't be at Comic-Cons in Australia were it not for the fact that I'm currently working here.
Yeah.
So I'm working in Melbourne, in fact, so it was fairly easy, obviously, there for to hop up to Sydney or across here to Perth. And so it's a pleasure to be at my first Australian Comic-Cons. And it's been very enjoyable. People are very friendly and seem very appreciative of the fact that you've managed to turn up. So, it's been good.
We definitely appreciate when you make the effort to come along. It's really good to have you here. Now you have a massive body of work. You've been in the industry for quite a while, but I noticed you've got a fairly strong presence in some genre type of things like Krypton and Game of Thrones, and you've also done some historical based work with a more of a realistic. How do you find the differences there, and do you have do you like one more than the other?
If somebody said to me that I would spend a lot of my 60s doing sci-fi stroke fantasy, I would probably have said, don't be ridiculous. But that's just the way it's fallen out. I mean, I have done quite a lot, obviously with Game of Thrones and Star Wars, Krypton, Doctor Who. I mean, suddenly there's a lot of these things, and very fortuitously, these are things that currently are very, very popular.
Yes.
And there's a fan base for all of that kind of material.
Yes.
So I feel very lucky, really, that I've been able to sort of like be the beneficiary of that for the last few years.
Yes.
Truth be told, before that time, it wouldn't have been where I would have invested most of my own time or energies. You know, I mean, I guess I'm used to doing drama series, and that's probably where I've spent most of my time, and probably what I would go to naturally, and even as a punter, what I would go to naturally, you know.
Yes.
But I've had a chance to sort of, change horses a few times, which is nice. I'm enjoying the fact that I have done this sort of material. I'm also enjoying the fact that I've done a bit of comedy material as well now, and just been able to flex a few different muscles, so that's been fun.
So that was actually what I'll come back around to this later, but I am a big Star Wars fan, so I'm obligated to ask you a little bit about your experience on Rogue One.
Yeah.
How you found that, and there's a bit of a reputation that film had a lot of reshoots and things towards the end. I was wondering if you had any experience with having to go back and refilm, and then just how you found being in a Star Wars film generally.
Well, that's what I find so bizarre about that particular experience. I don't know if that is true of all of them.
Yes.
I think it was also, and part of this may explain why it had so many reshoots. I think it was at a time when they were transitioning from the Lucas tradition to the Disney experience, and I think, now I wasn't privy to this, because at the end of the day, you're not. As the actor, you're not privy to these things.
Yes.
I think there was a lot of behind-the-scenes discussion about the kind of film that Star Wars was and the kind of film that Disney Star Wars were going to be, and that between director and producers there may have been a difference of opinion. Now, I'm positing here, I don't know, but this is what I'm guessing at. So I find it very strange and, frankly, to be honest, very frustrating that you would go in to do a bunch of scenes, they'd be done. As far as you were concerned, the contract's over, job done, on to the next thing. 3 months later, we want you back. What to do? The same thing. 6 months later, we want you back to do what? The same thing. And you think, I don't know what's going on here anymore, and I don't know.
I did my job.
What the explanation of all of this is. But if that's what they want, well, that's what they want, so back we go, But it was, in truth, the fact of having to turn up several times to do the same thing was kind of it was a frustrating experience. There's no point in denying it. But I think it was partly down to the fact that they were in transition.
Yes.
and probably not 100% sure about.
Must have left you wondering what's going on here a little bit.
Well, I'd tell you my own feeling about this, and I don't know if this is quote fit for broadcast or whatever, but my own feeling about this is that unlike most things where somebody says, this is what I want to film, and they go ahead and try to film it, I get the feeling with Star Wars, because there's such an invested fan base, that the agenda is slightly different, that they're not saying this is what we want to film. What they're saying is, what do we think our fans want? And because, to a degree, that's what's leading the discussion.
Yes.
Anytime they do something, it's a case of, well, I wonder, is that what they want? Perhaps we better go back and revisit it. You know, that there's less certainty, less confidence actually going into it about exactly where they want to end up than there is with certain other things.
Yes.
Because the fan base is so powerful and so invested, and obviously is very outspoken about what they like and what they don't like. You know what I mean?
That's really interesting, and to be honest, I could talk with you all afternoon about the merits and pitfalls of delivering what the fans want and what you're alluding to. I think that's really interesting about modern culture and movies and that constant feedback loop coming in and trying to anticipate. That's a really interesting point. But I won't I won't dwell on that.
Well, it's almost like where, you know, creative work it sort of crosses over into some sort of it's all about the audience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess historically, creatively, it's all about the project you want to make. Now, in some ways, it's all about, well, who's our audience? How do we find them? How do we hold them? You know what I mean? That whole kind of. So it's a different take on it, you know.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you know? It's changed it significantly.
Yeah.
I think, like you're saying, changed the creative process.
Yeah.
But also, also wanted to ask, with so many roles, do you still consider yourself refining your craft? Are you still working on your own talents and developing and finding you still?
Only in the sense that, I mean, I'm not one of these people who goes off, ever did for that matter, to continuous acting classes or something like that. Yeah. But, you know, developing your own craft simply in the sense of, what's the challenge of this thing that I'm about to do? Yeah. Okay, these are the challenges. Do I feel ready or keen enough to take them on, you know, or just up for it, you know? I love doing what I do. I feel very lucky that I love doing it. I still want to carry on doing it. I have no intention of retiring, because it doesn't interest me to be retired. Yeah. It interests me to stay doing this, and every new part that you do will bring its own challenges, you know, and as long as, you know, the more interested they are, the happier I am, you know. Yeah. So
I was at your panel earlier today, and I didn't realize you'd done some directing as well. So
yes.
I have to ask, directing, acting, what do you want to do next?
Well, right now I have no plan and no agenda. My only agenda is, I'm currently working here. I finish in a couple of weeks' time. Okay. I'm going on holiday. Yeah. And the autumn will be what the autumn will be. I don't know yet. But I'm expected to be doing something. I just don't know what the something is. Sure. If I got an interesting directing job, I'd probably go and do it, because it's, you know, as I probably said in the panel, it exercises a bit of sort of part of your head, really, and requires you to think a bit differently. And sometimes that change of pace is as good as a rest. You know, it's just, I think one lends itself to the other as well. I think if you do both from each side of the equation, you gain something, you learn something, you know. So I certainly enjoy it, you know. And whether it's directing or acting, I know I'll be happy doing it, you know. So. All right.
Look, thanks very much for taking a few moments to hang out with us here.
Pleasure.
Hope you enjoy the rest of the convention and have a great time in Australia.
Lovely, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Ian.
Thanks a lot, thank you.